So this is the Kenwood KDW4TTSL dishwasher. I've had it about 4.5 years and it started to leak. So I've replaced various parts and it still leaks, and I'm going to take it to bits again and see if I can figure out what's going on. So the first thing you need to do is, the door comes in two halves. There's this front plastic bit and the metal part, which is actually the proper door part. So the first thing to do is to take the plastic part off. They call it the outer door. Okay, it's held on with 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you need a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. They're not posi drive screws, although you can get away with it, but it would be much better with Phillips. So here we go, one Phillips. Now I'm a bit lazy, I haven't got all day, so I'm going to cheat and use it. But there's nothing wrong with doing it by hand. That's 2. Now, the way the plastic door is held on is there's kind of like a lip at the top which holds it in place, so it won't fall off at the top, but it will fall down at the bottom. So when you take the last screw out, you need to hold it and stop it falling. And of course, always be careful where you put your screws, otherwise you have one left over or one missing when it comes to the end. Right, so the bottom part now pulls off. Eventually, there we go, and you see it's still attached, so you need to lift it up to get it off. Okay, so that's the outer door. It's got this piece of plastic attached, but the outer door doesn't really have anything to do with stopping the water getting out. It's just decorative. Okay, so we'll put that somewhere safe. The inner door is where it's at. Okay, so the inner door is held on to the dishwasher itself, to these metal hinges. Okay, and there's the screws for the hinges on the side of the inner door. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. But before you take the inner door off, this is the rinse safe dispenser, and it's attached with a wire to inside. Okay. Now, if you have a problem that your dishwasher buzzes after about 45 minutes, buzzes loudly for 3-4 minutes, that's because the relay on the rinse safe dispenser has got stuck, usually because it's corroded, because the liquid inside has somehow managed to leak out. So you might want to replace this unit for about £5 or £6 plus postage if you buy them from a spares place, or you can take this to bits, clean it up, give it a very good clean, get all the rust off, put it back together, and it'll probably work fine. So I'm going to take this off next, because otherwise when I take the inner door off, it'll still be attached to the dishwasher and I won't be able to do anything with it. Okay, so it's held on by these plastic bits, one of which is the filling part and one of which is the dispensing part. Okay, and you need something, you need a good pair of mole grips or a spanner, a nice big spanner. Which can I find? Here we go. So, open them up until they're just slightly bigger than these 2 plastic parts. we unscrew. Don't forget the little rubber washers. Okay, so this is the rinse aid dispenser. The way this works is there's a reservoir inside, you fill it up through here, and then when you open the door, it moves a measured amount, or it fills up a small chamber, just very small, the amount of rinse aid you're going to use, and then when you close the door it drops the chamber into another place, so that when the relay pulls the metal bit in the middle of a relay, I'm sure it's got a proper name, out, then all of the liquid flows out into the dishwasher. That's all of the measured liquid. So the amount of rinse aid you get has nothing to do with whether the relay is working or not. Okay, it's measured out when you do that. The relay just opens it up and lets it all out. And let's just take this off. Oh. So I'm going to unscrew these. Just it's always a good point to this moment, just to or actually earlier, just to make sure that you did unplug it. You don't want anybody getting electrocuted. So, whoa. Here it is. See? The way it works is there's a spring, and this metal part, when the relay is powered, it pulls it in, and the plastic seal gets out of the way and the liquid comes through. And this one's clean because I've taken it apart and cleaned it. But this was all corroded and everything. If you do take it apart, make sure there's various pieces of plastic, and there's several ways in which to put it back together, and unless you make a note of how it came apart, you're not going to figure out just how to put it back together again. So. Put this back on. Okay, so that's this out of the way. Probably this has nothing to do with the leak, because the seal is how well it's sealed around here and here, and that's probably not going to have been broken. So, let's have a look. We're going to have to take this inner door off, because one of the important seals is at the bottom of this door. Okay, so we'll unscrew these two screws. Okay, so it should just pull off now. Now, it is kind of still attached because this expanded polystyrene fills in the gap between this this piece, which is connecting the two hinge parts and the inner door, but I thought it was glued into place and I cut some of the glue, but actually I think it's not, it's just pressed. It's not going to go anywhere because it's a tight seal, it doesn't need to be glued, so I think it just pulls off. But as I say, I did cut some of the glue away, I think erroneously. Anyway, go, lifts up. So that's the inner door. Okay. The reason why I replaced the inner door was this plastic part here is held, there's the plastic, then a rubber seal, then the metal, and it's held tight by these little rivet things, plastic bits on the end which come through from the main piece of plastic, and most of these are broken, so there was quite a gap. You could push it out and then the water could come in, so I thought that would be causing the leak. However, I've replaced the inner door, didn't really help. It did need replacing, but still it didn't stop the leak. Okay, so there's this seal here, this rubber seal, which is held in place. I can explain. It's these rubber bits are attached to the seal on the other side, and they just push through the holes in the metal, and that holds it into place. Okay, so it was a strip which I pushed through. Okay, I'm not going to take it off because it's quite hard work to get it off and on again. But the way that the seal works is, now you might think that when it's closed it should be completely sealed so that you could like pick the whole thing up and shake it and nothing will come out. But it doesn't work like that. Okay, the way it works is you've got this kind of metal tray at the bottom of the dishwasher, and here that's the top of the metal tray, so you can pour water in this and up to this point and it will just sit there, a puddle of water, even without this door on it. And then when the door is on, the door comes down into the tray and there's a gap, and then this rubber seal fills the gap and also goes around the side as well. But it doesn't completely seal. Okay, all it's doing is there's a lot of water sloshing around, and it's making sure that when the water sloshes forward, it doesn't just fly through the gap at the bottom of the door. It stops it sufficiently from coming out. If anything, it just pushes up the side of the front of this tray part and then drops down again. It doesn't actually, it's not, I don't think it's supposed to seal completely. However, it's not sealing enough because for some reason on mine it seems to be leaking still, and I don't know why. So I'm just wondering whether I was supposed to have pushed this rubber seal right up, you can see that, right up into there. Maybe that was the problem. Because I didn't do that. And it was leaking at the end. Okay. Anyway, so if you replace the metal door, I would strongly recommend that you also replace the rubber seal as well, because it's only a few pence more and it's a lot of extra work, and if you have to take it apart again and buy the seal as a separate item. Okay. The other thing which might be leaking is the door seal, and that's this rubber thing here. Goes around there. Now, I don't think that was the problem, but I replaced it anyway, and it hasn't solved the problem, so it probably wasn't the problem. But anyway, the way this seal is held in is basically if you take the bottom and just pull, it'll just come out. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have to put it back in again. But it just pulls out, you throw it away, you get the new one, you push it in all the way around, and it's done. and that's it. And there's a really good video on YouTube showing you how to do that somewhere. So the question is, where is it leaking? Well, I don't know, but I'm guessing that maybe it's because I didn't push this rubber seal right into the corner. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try and clean around the edges again, because I did that before, and then put it all back together. And I'll hope that it doesn't leak. Okay, one thing about putting it back together again, this wire here, you see there's an indent in this rubber. There's two, but it's the thicker one here. That needs to go in there. Okay, there's enough room for the wire to sit here inside the door. It doesn't have to go down there, but it does need to go through that. So I'm going to hook this on, try and keep this in place. So I'm trying to get these rubber seals to be right inside by kind of pushing them up a little bit, so that they're fully engaged. And we'll hope that that stops it dripping. We shall see, because it comes out of the front here and here. Right, so there we go. Okay, so I put some dishes and things in, because I think if it's completely empty, it's going to splash around a lot more and more like to throw water past the seals. Another thing is, this rotating bit, according to people on the internet, if it springs a leak in the end and starts squirting water straight out, it can force it through the seals. But I've taken it off and checked it, and it seems to be fine. If you do take this rotating thing off, it unscrews the wrong way. You have to turn it clockwise to unscrew it, not anti-clockwise. But as far as I know, now it is perfect. I have no reason to think it will leak. That's what I thought before, so let's give it a go. I'm not going to put any powder in or anything. I'm just going to turn it on a normal program. Normal, yep. And it says it wants some salt. Well, it can manage with that. Okay, well, see what's going to happen, eh? So it's 7 o'clock PM here, and I'll turn it on when we have something to report. Okay, 7:10, and no leak so far, and it's pumping the water around, so that's good. But on the other hand, it didn't leak at this point before. It didn't leak until about an hour and a half in, for some reason. So let's see what happens. So, no water, and there's no sign of any water inside. So I think that's resolved it. Problem is this where the seal comes to the end, it needs pushing right in. That's what I didn't do the first time, that's why it leaked at the corners. So I fixed it by replacing the inner door and the seal at the bottom of the inner door and the seal around here. I suspect it was probably the seal at the bottom of the inner door that was actually causing the problem, but hopefully now it'll go on and last for a long time. I think the next thing that's going to go is probably the heater element, because it's starting to have specks of rust on it, but that looks like it's easy to replace. Just a note, always put this back on before you actually use it, because some of the things in here are live. If you stick your finger on them, you'll well, you might as well stick your finger in the plug socket. It's just not a good idea. So it kind of slides on underneath. It has to fit into the little slots and then screws up.